Welcome to a journey through NYC Religions Television. My name is Tony Carnes, your guide and host. I ran across the other day a remarkable story about how the lives of over 18,000 children were saved. I thought this is remarkable. It starts with the man right here, and I'd like to introduce him because he's come here this morning, Rabbi Marty Katz. Welcome to the show.
Tony, it's great to be here. It's just great to be here.
Can you tell us, what is just one life? Why should we care about it? I mean, people hear this 18,000 kids and they say, oh my gosh, but it's true. This is what's happened. You know, the last couple of decades, you've been able to save over 18,000 kids and put together some families back together.
Roll back the clock, Tony, 30 years. Holy Land. Our work is in the Holy Land in Israel. Take the King David Hotel, because that's where it took place. Take the pool, that's where this began. Take some beach chairs, but two specific beach chairs. Sitting on one beach chair is Jack Forgesh, businessman, somebody who cares about his people and cares about all of humanity. Take the Rabbi Sharfman of blessed memory. An article in the Jerusalem Post. 120,000 expecting in the Holy Land. 90,000 give birth. 30,000 terminate. Jack Forgesh looks at the rabbi and says, what do we do? Most people would say, I don't know. Jack Forgesh finds a Madeline Gittleman, one of the main top social workers, who decides to do a study and comes up with a formula of love. I beg of you, the topic that will be different, as you'll see, through the years, but of love, and states, if instead of screaming, we find the guts of the problem, because most of these that are considering to terminate could be socioeconomic stress. They could need extra funds for food, paying their rent, baby supplies, investing in a job training situation. You name it. There's a shortfall. And we offer them help over a certain amount of period. And maybe a follow-up program could be developed. Can we achieve results? That's how we began. The topic of to terminate. Then suddenly we develop into every aspect of pregnancy and crisis. A woman's going to miscarry. There's the possibility of depression. There's alcoholism. There's drugs. There's family getting together. There's what goes on now all the time. Shaarei Tzedek Hospital in Jerusalem. Every high-risk case of pregnancy, every problem is there going to be a baby born with a deformity, whatever it is, and the woman, the expectant mother, needs therapy, the government's not paying. You name it. Any aspect of pregnancy comes to us. We're saving families, we're saving lives, and we have follow-up programs. We have parent workshops. You'll talk about the evangelical relationship later on. We have students in different schools in Israel coming to volunteer. And we have Christians from Oral Roberts University, when they're studying in Israel, every few weeks a new group comes, does training, and works with our clients.
Okay, this is so much. Not only, so what you're saying is, here in New York, you and Jack Forgesh and some others.
We're in New York because the office is here, and here's where we start to raise the money.
And then you go and you do this work in Israel, and you start making connections with people, even across faiths, and you start to bring in all of these resources. And y'all do, with a young woman and a young man, a family,
Good.
You do counseling, you do finance, you do home visits,
Yes.
you do referrals, you do advocacy,
Yes.
and you do workshops.
The word you just said now, Tony, is so important, advocacy, because we empower women. A woman who's at the bottom, who doesn't know how she's going to get out of the stress, or pardon me, the mess. We have guided her to say, yes, it's rough, but you're going to be raised so much that you'll feel good about yourself. And you know what? You may be able to go to a municipality or an office and get some kind of help besides the help we're giving. You will look at the mirror and say, I'm a good person.
You know, talking about advocacy and giving chances or choices to families in stress, what's the story of these 4 young guys? Because I know this is one that is particularly close to your heart and that they weren't meant to be. What happened?
21 years ago, an ultra-Orthodox woman is expecting. Her name is Yael Mizrahi. And the doctors, or her doctor says, Mrs. Mizrahi, Yael, you're expecting more than 1. Twins? No, more than 2. 3? No, 4. But we did some testing here to see how you are. And we have a feeling that if you fetar reduce 2, you abort 2, pick who you want, A, B, C, or D, pick him.
They said reduce?
Yes, that's the terminology. Reduce 2, the other 2 shall live.
Oh my gosh, that must have been a pretty...
You can't imagine the trauma. I can't tell you how, I don't remember. She fell into, pardon the expression, the lap of Just One Life. She fell into Madeleine Gittleman. She fell into Jack Forgish. A top doctor who was one of our founders from Beersheba, Shimon Glick, was involved. They looked at the data. They couldn't understand why she was told to reduce 2.
So what y'all provided, right at this point, 2 things happened. One, somebody told her about you. And
well, understand, all our cases are referrals. They're not off the street. We always get a professional,
so
a social worker, or a rabbi's wife,
somebody
a
reaches out and says,
look,
look, you're feeling a choice that
you're lost.
You don't want, but you don't know what to do. Then you come along with some scientific expertise to take a look and to see, well, what is possible in this case, and you give that to her. Now, there's nothing more horrible sounding than to say you got to reduce 2 of your babies.
That's correct.
And furthermore, this is a very Orthodox lady, so they really value children at a very, very high level. So it's almost like a double whammy. Number one, any woman told that is, do I take A, B, or C, or D? It's a horrible dilemma. But second is that when you've got such a value and you've been striving in your life to realize that value, and all of a sudden to say, you just got to cut that out. Psychologically, it's very traumatic.
It's a blow.
So y'all come along. You're not judgmental. It's up to her to make the choice.
Every client, it's up to the client. The client, I beg of you all to hear this. Anybody who has a stress, who needs our help, they make the decision. Do you want our help? There's no dogma. There's no screaming. There's no yelling. There's no trickery. This is what we could do for you. What do you want to do?
So you'll come along and offer that to her. But that's not the end of it, because even after she's decided and say, okay, I think I can decide, that internally and also just economically, it's not so easy. So what happens after she decided to have the birth?
We're there for her in therapy or in counseling. I wouldn't say therapy. We're there for her
encouragement.
In counseling.
Yeah.
We're there for her financially. I state this gently. Pretty much every one of our cases, we give out anywhere between $1,400 to $1,800 to help them. In America, that's a case of Huggies. In Israel, it goes a long way. Mm-hmm. Then there's a follow-up program. We stayed in touch with this one because it was a real rough one. And she would say to you, Mr. Collins, Just One Life saved my babies. And there's a picture of those 4, because I just came back from Israel. There's one picture you have here. There'll be another picture with the mother. This boy on the left, he's getting married in 2.5 weeks.
Now, this is 21 years ago?
Right. No, this was 21 years ago they were born.
Right.
This is 21 years later. He's getting married. One of these is studying a trade. One of them is in the national service of some sort. One of them is learning Talmudic literature, etc.
So all of that value now being brought into society, first of all, they're living. But second of all, the mother really had some healing through this.
Correct.
And now she has these sons and probably grandsons and granddaughters.
I invite you and anybody on your team when you go to Israel to meet this lady. She was in America actually a year ago, and she's an incredible lady of strength.
Yeah, that's
and there's no money there, but there's belief in God. This wedding, we're helping pay for it a little. Okay, Jack Forgish, typical of him, is helping with some of the financing of this wedding. She's a remarkable lady.
Now, some of the things that you do is you just mentioned Jack Forgash, but also your connections to Israel. One of the things that you seem to do very well is connect up people to do things.
I'm able to reach out to different people, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's through mail, whether it's through the phone, or whether it's have functions. We raise money so we can ship it to Israel. Okay? I also connect people in a sense. I'm a connector. You have to understand is by using the formula of love, empowering, raising the bar, worrying about follow-up, being a human being, you can accomplish a lot. I'm going to say this very bluntly. If you tell a woman who doesn't know where she's going with the stress of pregnancy, you really don't have a choice, because if you do it the other way, it's like murder. You blew it. It's not the way. Love is the way. How can we help you? What could we do for you? We don't want a Band-Aid. One of my favorite stories is there was a couple that he had 2 or 3 jobs. We funded $300. He was trained besides his job to be a garbage picker. He used to get up 3:30, 40 in the morning for 2 hours extra, but he felt dignity. If you could create dignity, it's unbelievable what you could do. You can't imagine. We've created a network all across the country of social workers, doctors, rabbis' wives, rabbis, sociologists, psychologists, just coaches, whoever deals, they refer the cases. It's not you coming off the street. There's a whole formula how this is done. There's a whole formula how items and food and packaging and monies are given out and how a follow-up program takes place.
Let me open up to the audience here, because we can only talk a little bit about what's going on in this short time that we have. But if you want to find out more, if you're a religious leader, a pastor, and you would like to talk to Rabbi Katz, he wants to talk to you, and he would just like you to get in touch with him. It's interesting what he's doing on so many levels. There's so many things to learn, so many things to inspire us. How can they get a hold of you?
Well, first of all, the website is www.justoneLife.org. If you email me at mkatz, K-A-T-Z, at justoneLife.org, or another email address that's easy to remember, info, I-N-F-O, at justoneLife.org. It'll come to me. Write your phone number down. I'll find the time. I don't want to just email with you. I'm a little old-fashioned, Tony. I like calling people. I like talking to people. I like having coffee with people. If you're a pastor, we can get a couple pastors to go to Israel and see what we do. You'll be mesmerized. You will not believe the happiness, the bubbliness. You know, one of the pastors came to our office, and he called me when he got back, and he said, Rabbi, I had a visit with your angels. The 3 angels took care of me. Our team, the 3 angels. Listen, this is my mission. I always say, people say to me, Rabbi, are you a holy man? I said, no, I'm not. Holy work? Yes. God's messenger to do his holy work? Yes. Sylvester Stallone is Rocky? He'll always be Rocky. Marty Katz, this rabbi, I'm always going to be babies, no matter what I do. And those of you who are older looking at this, my other analogy is, I was into cowboys as a kid, and I loved the Lone Ranger. And Clayton Moore, who played the Lone Ranger, till he was 92, he wore a mask. Even when he wasn't, he was always the Lone Ranger. Katz, I'm always going to be babies. Katz, I'm going to hear a comment by a donor who says, my husband comes home, he manages real estate, very wealthy. These toilets were fixed, these windows were fixed, these doors were fixed, all this took place. We represent the parts and the vendors. As a result of this, we're getting more clients and more people, and that's what I do. And the donor's wife says to me, I envy you. You come home and you say, twins today, triplets, a single, a woman who was in a depressed situation needed help, a woman who almost miscarried, a woman who had a high-risk pregnancy. You were woken up, Rabbi Katz, in the middle of the night to tell you that twins were born. That's my real estate.
You're sort of a carpenter for families.
So I just thought of a quick story, if I could tell you. Many years ago in Israel, there was a bar mitzvah celebration in a city, a suburb, place called Talpiot, right near Jerusalem, Talpiot. And the ceiling collapsed, and people, there was a woman there who was expecting a baby, and as a result of this, she had to have spleen work, back work. She was considering to terminate. She didn't know what to do. A social worker, I told you, referrals, sent it to our team. Madeleine was the head of the project. She's now chairperson. She was the head social worker, executive vice president. And the baby was born, and we helped her medically, and we helped her empowerment to raise her thinking, because what she went through, it was just unbelievable.
Yes.
For years, I carried the picture of me holding her baby in my hand. And one time I'm with 3 business people after the stock market crashed. And they say, Rabbi, we're passing out, it crashed, we lost, we're this, the dividends, you can't imagine. Rabbi, do you know what's going on? I said, listen, guys, I don't know about your dividends, but you see me holding the baby, my dividends keep going up. It's not connected at all to the stock market and the numbers. Whether you buy AT&T, whether you buy Merrill Lynch, whether you buy TJ Maxx stock, whatever you buy, it doesn't really matter to me. My dividends are going up. That's who we are.
You know, we could tell 600 stories a minute on our show, and we might be able to get through all of these dramatic moments. I know that you have a quad, you have a couple triplets, you have some special cases that just are because of
Sure.
often the not only are they wonderful, but often where they come into a family, there's a lot of stress. Tell me the story of these 3 beauties.
It's just a stress case. The parents were very stressed. She heard she's giving birth to triplets, and she told us, by the way, they also told her to reduce 1. She told me. They said, reduce 1, you'll have twins, it'll be better. So we helped them sort it out with doctor's reports, and they're our triplets, and they love us. They come in.
Which hospital were they at?
Hadassah.
Hadassah. That's connected to a medical school there?
Yeah. It was Hadassah. I think it was Hadassah.
And that,
you see, I the cases I remember, the hospitals I don't, because I'm not really the one who makes the professional.
Yeah.
Many people will tell you, Mr. Collins, this rabbi, it's like by gut he's a professional mental health persona, but that's because of what I've learned in 30 years. I've seen a lot. I've heard a lot. I've seen a lot. When I come and I meet some of the families, it's very rewarding for me, as you can just imagine. I walked into Shaarei Tzedek Hospital 10 days ago in the high-risk pregnancy area. I felt like I was the king. And it wasn't me who was the king. It's the work that's the king. They all came running over. No one could hug, of course, because of what's going on. Okay, the virus. But my wife was with me. It was an unbelievable experience.
Well, I wonder how, as you're talking about this, I'm saying, how did this man come to be? How did you come here? Or where were you born?
I was born in the Lower East Side.
Yeah? Whereabouts?
3rd Street and Avenue D.
Okay.
I went to a yeshiva day school, a Jewish day school on the Lower East Side. Afterwards, I went to Yeshiva University High School. Then I went to Yeshiva University College. I was a math major, Tony. I started as a math major. In 1971, I go to City College, and I'm playing around with computers in 1971. This is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. This is what I'm going to do with my life, figure out probability tables. I decided to then go into teaching, which is then I'm going to go into graduate school, and I now have to get ordination.
But now,
Ordination
let me
means
stop it.
somebody decides I'm going to take tests and become a rabbi.
Well, yeah, you went to yeshiva. Did you have, there's a particularly famous rabbi, maybe in your period, Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik?
I did, but repeat after me, Soloveitchik.
Soloveitchik.
You got it.
We need a rabbi on this program.
He was the rabbi who we called the Rav, who signed my ordination papers. He comes from the dynasty of Soloveitchiks. That one is more brilliant than the other. Going back, he's gone 25 years, but it goes back for about 125, 150, 200 years.
It's sort of a long list of
Soloveitchiks.
of celebrated Soloveitchiks.
Sure. Right. Well known in the world. They developed a whole way of learning our oral law. We're very into what's called
When you
law.
had him, you took a class with him in
Class. We learned with them.
Yes.
Okay, we learned with them. You could have a class 3-4 hours a day, and you felt like it was a half hour. That's how amazing he was as a teacher.
I mean, why was it so amazing? I'm just because I know that great teachers inspire the students, and so down the line they pays out, like in your ministry. But
he was the art of the quintessential teacher. His whole manner of getting creativity and getting to you think was unbelievable. It's photographic, but that doesn't even do it justice. That doesn't do it justice unless you're in his class. But he had all the ingredients that you can't replicate to even be like him, no matter what. And he knew everything. And he showed compassion. And he showed love. And, there's a story once that he was sitting with his grandson and he was watching he lived in Boston during the week. And they were watching a baseball game on TV. And everybody's shouting, and he turns to his grandson, is this good for us or not good for us? He's a great man. More than a great man. A great teacher.
And from there, you take your lessons that you learned
from him and others. And I was very involved in unaffiliated, reaching out to the unaffiliated worldwide, California, Montreal, Toronto, Russia, Australia.
This is your connecting basis.
I did a lot of work with every kind of Jew you can imagine, myself and with a whole group of us from Yeshiva University. Then I landed in a day school called Ramaz.
Ramaz, a very famous day school.
Yes.
And what did you do there?
I taught from 6th grade to 12th grade. I was there 4 or 5 years.
So you're always involved in children in some way.
Yes. And then I went to the famous Lincoln Square Synagogue, Rabbi Riskin, which was not just a synagogue, it had national overtones. It wasn't just for the community.
So immediately
the world.
So Ramaz and then Lincoln Square Synagogue immediately put you into this network of connections.
Yes.
But not everybody will learn how to bring that as a capital to bring people together.
My wife would say, oh, Tony, you don't know my husband. He could talk to the wall. Listen, my kids will tell you what I always say. You want something done, give it to a busy person.
Yeah.
You give it to somebody tells me I have all the time in the world, I'm worried, okay? The other item I learned, which I really saw in Just One Life, because of the topic, and people who have a topic, they run, they're afraid to really hear the topic, is if I listened, and I hope I did some good things in my life, if I listened to every single thing people would tell me, I'd be going nowhere. If I didn't do, you wouldn't have 18,500 people born. If I didn't do, we wouldn't have unaffiliated Jews through friends of mine. If I didn't do, I wouldn't be a teacher, and thank God many of my students from 6th grade to 12th grade still have a relationship with me. I'm heavily involved, as you can imagine, in the community. I go to sleep anywhere between 12 and 2 in the morning. Very often I'm on the phone with Israel, with other areas I'm involved in. God has given me a certain strength. I should continue in good health. But my identity is just one life. He who saves a life, you'd save the world. That's my identity. Babies. I lift them up. I'm never bored. I could talk with this passion all day long. I hope it's real. I'm God's agent. And yeah, I want to tell you a secret, Mr. Tony Carnes. Whether you like it or not, you just became God's agent also. Because you just became a little bit of a partner with me. And this producer over here, Brian, who's an amazing person, and Adi, who's also taping, and it could be shown on the show, they're also partners.
Well, it's very profoundly moving. I just knew when I heard about this program and what you're doing, and calling it a program is that's the wrong way to say what it is. It's
mission.
It's a mission.
It's a mission. It's a mission.
That it was just a remarkable thing, and there's so many things that happen in the city that happens around you, and you don't take time to stop, and then when you find out, you say, "Wow, how come I've never heard of that before? That is incredible." And that, I got to say, that's sort of what I felt. I was just saying.
So 30 years ago, this is a little rough, this case, but I'll say it.
Okay.
Couples living with each other, not married. She gets pregnant. He wants the baby. She wants the baby. The parents on both sides say, no, don't keep the baby. Terminate. A referral comes into our office. Madeleine Gittleman is then the chief. She's the director. She's the social worker. She has a team. It's 30 years ago. We fund them. We are not judge or jury. Never did we say to them, I give you my word, okay, okay, how could you do such a thing? We married them. And she had a stomach under that canopy. We married them with love. We helped him get a job. They love their baby. You approach it this way, you empower, and from the depths you raise somebody up, you could accomplish mountains in a world.